Hi everyone, it's Bradley. Welcome back to my channel. It's great to have you here today. Research it, mash it, boil it, ferment it, drink it, analyze it, share it. Home brewing is good. Today's video is going to be all about the cooling jacket for the MiniUni series of fermenters. The MiniUni is not the Plus model. Obviously the Plus is jacketed with a stainless steel jacket, so you know this wouldn't be good for that. First off, I need to be honest. Brewtools did send me these components for review and evaluation, and that's what we're here doing today. I've done a little bit of time-lapse footage. If you know how much I really do not enjoy doing time-lapse stuff, it just takes forever and ever. I've done it because, well, I think it's important to have some details for how these are going to work for you in your brewery. So these cooling jackets are made out of TPU. They are, fully that material. There's no metal on them. One thing to note is they do lace on. I am told that the next batch will have elastic laces, so a little more stretchy. As it is, the strings that the boys have sent with these are a little short. They really should be about, 3 centimeters longer. I hear that a lot, but in this instance, it would be really good. So to get these on successfully, I really do think you need to unlace them or loosen them significantly. Again, you could potentially cut one of these, so I would avoid the kind of the mounting latch in the back. I would go from the bottom up. I think it's just safer. You can do it both ways, and I surely have, but that's just my recommendation. A couple other things, I've also started carrying these plastic components for hooking up your lines. They're 3/8 NPT thread, and they are, cheap little barb fittings, and they definitely do the job. Another thing to be concerned with is, in all my footage and my setup here over my shoulder, I've used the Brewtools insulated, kind of harder glycol lines. I don't believe that these are really designed to be used in this instance. I think we should go with a more silicone line, and also that's what Brewtools recommends. I just am showing it like this because it's the setup I have and it's what I have on hand, and I didn't want to cut a bunch of new lines for something I may not wind up using in my own brewing. So other thing I have shown is the dripless fittings, and those absolutely do work, and I would recommend dripless at least on one end, maybe not everywhere, but it just makes it easy to get this thing off and on and get everything to work. One other thing, when you guys are assembling these, and these are, the threads are regular MPT threads, you definitely want to put some Teflon tape on these. I say 6 or 7 wraps will do you. You could put a little liquid Teflon as well. You don't want to get liquid Teflon inside of the cooling jacket. Maybe that's more of an advanced thing and shouldn't be for the uninitiated or the novice user. But again, 6 or 7 wraps of Teflon, get them good and tight. Definitely I would recommend putting them on before it's on the tank, because as these will push through the threaded inserts that are on there, if it was pushing against the other side of the material that the sleeve's made of, I think it could cut it, because there's no way for it to stop it essentially. So just keep that in mind. It's just a little nuance that may help you in the long run, everything work a little bit better and a little bit longer. So 6 or 7 wraps, install these first. I did mine by hand and didn't have any leaks. No need to use a wrench. It just depends on your hand strength and dexterity. So to each his own there. If you need to use a wrench, just don't grip it super tight. Remember, these components are not stainless steel, so they're not that robust. So the first test I did, and I only have the 40-liter MiniUni. What I did was I slammed in a 2-inch Brewtools heating element to make sure I could get everything up to the temperature I wanted. Then I hooked it up to a temp controller. For all the testing, I used Kegland's wrapped temperature controller. I love this thing, guys. It's, as of right now, the best one you can get commercially, readily available, I think, all around the world at this point. This thing is awesome. Really good, hard-working little controller. Wi-Fi makes it really interesting to look at graphs and stuff if you're into that. And then I also dropped in a pill hydrometer, it's not for look at gravity, but to monitor temperature again. And I'm also using the probe that came with it, suspended in there. And that probe is taking reading from a set point within the tank, which is something with my testing to keep in mind. The other thing I did first was I put 5.5 gallons of water in the MiniUni, and I heated it up to about 85 degrees is where I started the test. Now, you may say, okay, it's not really a realistic starting point. You may want to pay attention to my time lapses in that when we get around to the 68-degree mark, maybe a more common ale fermentation might be something that might be more applicable, but we have the hotter temperature. So that's just what I did because, well, I'm Bradley. So I ran the time lapse and I found that it cooled down, and this setup really effectively, and it performed like many other jacketed tanks would that I would expect, or any other sort of cooling, meaning when you have a big differential in between your actual vessel and then your reservoir, it's going to be a little more rapid and more efficient. And I will like to note that my glycol chiller, I did have this thing set below zero. I think I had it at 27 or 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I really wanted to show this in its best possible case. Also, you can see from that footage, hopefully I'm overlaying it somewhere, you can see that I have ambient temperature in here for the testing was around 70 degrees Fahrenheit up to 71. I had the HVAC running, just trying to keep it as fair as I could. So I found that it initially knocked out and crashed down pretty rapidly. But one of the things I'm looking to see is, can you lager with this? And in my testing, I only ran about 4.5 hours or 5 hours. I'll show you the end of it. I got to where it was around 45 degrees and it was going down, but really slowly. I decided at that point I would call the test complete for we'll say the 30-liter model with 5.5 gallons. I don't want to tell you guys that I think you can lager with this. I think this is more of a temperature control solution, meaning if you're using, an ice chest with a pump or some other method, or glycol chiller, depending on your chiller's power and your setup, you might do better or worse than me. So it's quite subjective, these kind of tests, and this is just one example, so it's by no means scientific. Because a gentleman with sausage fingers did the testing. So really keep that in mind. So I do not want to say out there that you're able to lager with this in the right climate, the right ambient temperature. I'm sure it would, but I'm not going to flat out say you can. But you can definitely temp control. I would say any, if you want to make sure you're fermenting at a lager fermentation temp, absolutely. I think it will maintain that no problem. If you want to do standard ale temp, it's definitely going to do that. Actually, I'll also link an old video, and I'll link that right above, where I used a water heater and some water in a pump in lieu of glycol and heated using a jacket via that. And that's something that might actually be kind of interesting for a MiniUni. If you have this, you could run warm water through it to heat if you were not needing to cool and just switch it over or switch hoses or something. So I think that still might be relevant. It's, a heat belt does work quite nicely in those instances as well. The next set of time lapses was a daisy chain setup, and that's what you've been staring at here over my shoulder. I have two of these cooling jackets set up in series, basically. The cold comes in at the lowest one, then it goes up to the next one, then it comes back out. This does work pretty well. Obviously on the bigger tanks, you have to do this. If you have a single, you definitely want to have it in the middle of the tank towards the top, because the cold's going to sink and the hot's going to rise. So you're going to get some of that natural convection inside of there when you're positioning this on your tank. So keep that in mind as well for best results. I kind of have mine set up this way. Again, I didn't want to make new set of tubing for it, and I'm very much limited by that. I did the same testing again, and I found very similar performance to the other, just a single sleeve. But obviously, instead of 5.5 gallons, this thing is full. This is about 10.5 gallons, 40 liters of liquid in there, water, same temperature, everything. And I found its ability to crash maybe a little bit better crashing as far as knocking that temperature down. But all in all, it was on par. I do have some thoughts on some stuff we could do differently. I think if I was going to run two of these in an actual setup and really intend to use it to control fermentation, I would tee off the output of my coolant supply, whether that's glycol or an ice bath. I would tee that into two and then run two separate, we'll say, supply lines into each cooling jacket, because there is some resistance inside of the jackets. As you pass through one, it does slow down flow significantly into another one. I did have to bump up my glycol pump overall to make it flow at an acceptable rate and get the best performance. You will see I'm not triggering this with any sort of solenoids like that. This is just kind of a down and dirty test just to see what it will do. So as my testing is nearly complete at this point, I would say, again, like I said, the lagering, I don't want to say you could do it because, like I just mentioned, I'm beating a dead horse here, but lagering will be a very subjective circumstance based on your equipment and ambient temperatures. But as far as temp control, if you have a MiniUni, this will definitely work. It's a solution that has been sorely missed now for over a year. I'm really nice to see the boys get it out. This isn't their typical product that I would normally expect, but they do work well. They are of a high quality, you know, as high quality as they can be given their materials. So it's really nice to see. And just if you're in the market, I would say get 2 of them. I think these things retail for, you know, about $20 a piece. I don't yet see them on Morebeer's website. Brewtool does have them on their US portal, so you could potentially buy them directly from them, I believe. I have no knowledge if Morebeer will have them or not, but definitely reach out to Morebeer via email or social media and ask them if they're going to have these. I think it is a worthwhile little gadget. It will fit on other things. It laces on there, so just a longer set of laces, just paracord basically, if you wanted, would do it. You could put this on many other things and use it for temperature control without having to immerse something inside of the vessel, which I very much do like. All right, everybody, a little bit of a different video than I've done in a while. Obviously, sitting down here isn't something I've done in this brewery ever, but it's been interesting. I've had a really good time with these. Again, time lapses I hate, but it's something to do. So keep in mind the performance of these. If you have any questions, comment below. There's a chance I'll revisit this if I've really overlooked something that you guys think that I should have showcased in a better manner. So remember, I've been Bradley. Home brewing is good, and I'll see you real soon. Bye. Why do they call it daisy chain? I know like little kids will make like necklaces out of daisies. Why is it huh? I need to Google that. Why do they call it daisy chain? That's what I've done. But yeah, definitely have them more towards the top of the vessel. Best results. Well, that's good. I don't know. It's home brewing. It's good.